Hi there, welcome to BoxPred. In this video I'm going to be giving my prediction on the fight this weekend between Tony Bellew and Ovill McKenzie. This fight is for the Commonwealth light heavyweight title and the vacant British light heavyweight title. The records show that Tony Bellew is undefeated with 15 victories, no losses, no draws, around a 66% knockout ratio, whilst Ovill McKenzie has 18 victories, 10 losses, no draws, around a 25% knockout ratio. My prediction for this fight is the same as the last fight because this is a rematch and Tony Bellew fought Ovill McKenzie in his last fight. So I'm going for the same outcome as that fight, and I'm going to go for a Tony Bellew victory by stoppage, and I'm going to go for around the 8th round. Let's just quickly talk about Ovill McKenzie. The first rule I want to make for Ovill McKenzie in this one, what he shouldn't be doing is dropping his hands and getting cocky. He dropped Tony Bellew twice early on in their last fight, before he was stopped himself in the 8th. That all came about, him getting stopped, because he dropped his hands whilst Bellew was in punching range. That's a no-go. Bellew has the power, and he hit him with that left hand, and he went right down like a sack of spuds. So I would say Ovill McKenzie needs to, while his style does see him keeping his hands relatively low, I would say that he needs to not drop them completely whilst Bellew is in punching range. And the next point I'd like to make is pretty much the main point of my video here. I believe that in that last fight it wasn't a case of Bellew making it hard for himself as much as it was an exposure of a major flaw that Bellew has in his game. If you watch that fight, and it's on YouTube, the full fight on Frank Warren's channel, you will see that Tony Bellew, when he comes in with a jab, rather than shooting it out there, getting it out there, his body tends to move before the punch. So his body's in there and the jab is still in halfway. His jab will be halfway and he'll be close to the opponent, therefore exposing his whole. He's fully exposed. And Ovill McKenzie took advantage of this for one of the knockdowns, and also almost got him, leveled him again, but missed. It was a close miss. And I was just thinking, if Ovill McKenzie can focus on this, then he can stop Bellew, even though he only has a 25% knockout ratio, and he does lack the power, and he has lost 10 fights. This guy could beat Tony Bellew simply by exploiting that weakness. And Bellew does it all too often. He comes in, and it's just his jab is halfway there, and his body's already there for the opponents to take. He's sort of offering himself up on a plate. So, moving on to Tony Bellew, he needs to work on that weakness. He needs to work on the punch before the body. You know, his body's getting there before the punch, and that's not good. So that's a major weakness I see in Tony Bellew's game. And this all ties in with what I'm going to propose for Tony Bellew to do, which I thought, I think it ties in with the whole thing. He needs to, rather than take the initiative to pressurise Ovill McKenzie, he needs to draw Ovill McKenzie in first and then put the pressure on. There is a difference. Ovill McKenzie was fighting a little bit like David Haye fights. He was stalking Tony Bellew. He was letting Tony Bellew come to him, keeping his hands quite low, moving, sizing up Tony Bellew. Then when Tony Bellew comes to him, he wants to throw the jab. That's where the weakness comes in. Ovill McKenzie reacts, takes advantage. And I think Ovill McKenzie had his best results in that fight when Tony Bellew was forcing the pressure and taking that initiative. What Tony Bellew needs to do is invite Ovill McKenzie onto him. Ovill McKenzie comes in, Tony Bellew can deal with it. Okay, Ovill McKenzie's not a huge puncher. He's not, from that angle, the likelihood of him doing, stopping Bellew or hurting Bellew a lot is less. Bellew needs to take that, absorb that pressure, and do what he did. He did this sometimes in the fight, and that's when Bellew had his best work. take that pressure and then come back with your own. Then apply the pressure on Ovill McKenzie. That way, Ovill McKenzie is therefore unprepared. So Ovill McKenzie hasn't had time to size you up and wait. He's in there trying to fight you, trying to look for openings, put the pressure on himself. But Tony Bellew is a better boxer than Ovill McKenzie, in my opinion. So therefore, he's able to overcome that, push Ovill McKenzie back, and then Ovill McKenzie, like I say, is unprepared. So he won't be looking to counter your half-fast jab. Yeah. So if he's still got that weakness, that won't come into play so much because McKenzie then is taking pressure and he's more on about defence rather than countering. So he's unprepared. He's not sized you up. It's all in action. If you get what I'm saying. So ultimately, I think whether I'm talking rubbish or not, I think Bellew will win this fight, and I think he'll stop Ovill McKenzie, one way or the other. So that's my prediction. They're my thoughts on the fight. Please let me know what you guys think. Drop me a line. This is BoxPred, and I'm out.